People can join on in and comment away. Won't be live for too long today. Um, Definitely have to get a few things out of the way, but we'll live and discuss Milan's follow up to beating Real Madrid uh, midweek in the Champions League. And I think the majority of people are not surprised by this. The majority of Milan fans are not surprised by this. um, I don't think many people are gonna sit there and say, "Oh my God, like how do we drop points to Cagliari?" And I think people will say that rhetorically and won't say that actually meaning it as like an actual question. Like I was like, how do we concede 3 goals? Yeah, I mean, listen, we know why. Um, it's just this is why Matt and myself and I think many other fans just know. Like it's just when like opposing fan bases or people are like mocking Milan and their defense, like we don't give a shit. Like we know, like they're not good. So like to me, today is nothing different, nothing surprising. I think this is on Fonseca. I think the lack of continuity with the back four is a problem. I think someone like Pavlovic should not be starting at all. I understand this and that. Oh yeah, like totally. They're this sort of side that's, having weaknesses with aerial balls. Okay, well, Pavlovic is supposed to be great aerially. Where was he? What did he do? How is he combating and using his strengths to benefit the team? I don't see it. I think he's completely volatile. I think there is some talent there, certainly, but he needs to be refined completely because he is way too chaotic in a league that is supposed to be incredibly defensive and catering to players of that style. Um, I think he's sort of a butcher. He puts Milan in bad predicaments time and time again, and I don't see how Fonseca can keep rolling with him. I don't see how Tomori wasn't someone to be used. Again, everyone wants to talk about aerially, but like they're not defending. Like this is the conversation that I get tired of having every single year with Milan fans, and they're sort of like, no, like we're terrible aerially. Yeah, to an extent, but aerial presence and clearances mean nothing if you're not even marking a guy. If you're not even close, if you see the third goal scored by Cagliari, nobody was marking. The first goal scored by Cagliari, sleeping. Everybody's sleeping at the back. Nobody looking over their shoulders and like, oh my God, I have to pick up a man. Set piece defending, horrible. 3 goals is not even telling the whole story. Cagliari could have had 6 today. I don't see how you're Ibrahimovic, if you're Forlani, if you're all of these directors and important people, Fonseca included, within the team, and you sit there and say, how do we need anything else but defenders at this point? This was really not good. It just individualistic errors, and it's just time and time again that we're just seeing defenders like this just play at a really weak level. Um, it's funny how we don't renew Romagnoli, but how much better are all these guys than Romagnoli? Really? Like every single one of these guys that play in a back four, right? You talk Teo, any center back on this team, maybe Gabbia, because Gabbia had been playing great. Gabbia's one of them. Emerson Royale, take your pick with the other right backs. Not a singular one makes you feel at ease. Chow, Pavlovic, Tomori. To me, these are just not defenders that are at anywhere near the level that Milan should be at. I understand centrally you could get exposed, midfield. Fofana had super highs today, super great highs, and very low lows. Really, really frustrating to kind of see the two sides of him today. Um, I agree with you, Marcus, with the comment about taking Leão Pulisic off to head into the international break, mind you, by the way. So they're not playing again. So why aren't you keeping those massive threats on with those matches that are so dear and important. Milan are bizarre. This just isn't good enough. Like this is you're dropping points again to Cagliari. Um, you're sitting there almost dropping points against Monza. I mean, we could go through the matches here. Losing to Napoli was whatever because of the absences. Fiorentina is just an embarrassing loss as well, especially how that went down. The draw to Torino, the loss to Parma. Lazio is a difficult fixture in general, but again, this isn't even like how do these players turn into so and so when we face them? It's like, well, because our defending is relegation level, right? So Milan conceded another 3 goals today. We'll take a look over to the Serie A table right now. After Milan are now in seventh with 11 matches played. I believe this might be the updated one. This should be. Um, so Milan, with their 11 matches played, they have conceded 14 goals. Atalanta, Lazio are on par with that. Inter have conceded a lot, but Inter scores so much, 5 more goals. So again, just a really poor team overall. With this sort of defending, they're not completely done. They're not completely done, right? So I think what is most important to remember is that they can't string together consistency, a main issue that Matt and myself have been talking about the entire season. This is a great result, a really good stretch of matches where Milan had won 4 or 5. They beat Udinese, Club Brugge, Monza, and Real Madrid, and then the loss against Napoli, and again, drawing against Cagliari today. Forget about winning the title when you're missing out potentially on top 4. You look back to these sort of fixtures. So every time you see Milan or a top team drop points against these sort of relegation candidates, bottom half of the table type of squads, you say to yourself, okay, you need to make up. Please stop with the Xavi stuff. Please. Mancini sucks, Brian. Brian, I like you. You're very nice. I appreciate the input. Please stop with Roberto Mancini. Please stop with Xavi. Please stop. Please. This is please. These are not managers that should be at Milan. Especially Mancini. Mancini sucks. He sucks. He's garbage. A terrible manager. Please. This isn't years ago where this guy can bring you something. He sucks at club level. He got fired from Saudi Arabia. He's terrible. He's terrible. Let him go to another loser club, please, please. Want nothing to do with Roberto Mancini. But please let that be the last time that's ever a suggestion for the manager of Milan. Please, just most infuriating thing. Okay, so we'll talk about some of the positives and the stuff that we could kind of look at and be happy about. Camarda made his debut today. Really difficult sort of side to debut against. This is your traditional Serie A and stereotypical side that sits back at the back and plays a very low block. Going to be really difficult for him with how physical it could be with that sort of side. And obviously it's your debut and you're 16. So there's a lot going on in there. I thought he played okay. Almost missed an assist to Chukwueze. I don't think there's really anything in that realm of, you could take away too much from a great start or a poor start. I thought he played fine, and playing fine for a 16-year-old at one of the most tough positions in the sport is good. So I'm very happy with the Camarda debut. I think it was good for him to kind of get that out of the way, the debut, when I say as a debut start. So all that kind of stuff is fine. It's nice and to kind of like build off of. I think there's silver linings within that. So I think that's something to build off of there. I want to talk about Rafa. Rafa, just an exceptional game from him. His best of the season. Great consistency to build off of after the Real Madrid match. I thought he played pretty solid in those couple of matches as well. Club Brugge, he really wasn't that bad. He hasn't been able to get that much time. But lo and behold, Rafael Leão scoring 2 goals, being a massive protagonist for Milan today. And guess what happens with Milan? They concede so many goals. They conceded a third without him on the pitch. And it came from the left side. That finish came from the left side. Where is Mr. Work Rate Noah Okafor? Where is he? Where was he today? I'd love to know. I'd love to know how the work rate for all these players matters. And by the way, the defender, Teo, in which it is his job to defend, failed to do that. Teo was not good today. Okay, especially by the standards of you want to be the highest paid left back in the league, and all this kind of stuff. That's fine and well. Show up in this game. You didn't. You didn't. I thought Teo was really poor today. Almost got sent off at the end. Rafael Leão did his job. He gets his brace. Milan were in position to win. It's terrible defending. It's terrible defending. It's fodder. It's fodder. It's garbage. You can't sit there and say to yourselves that, yeah, this is what the problem is. Like, these people just, oh my God, it's just insane. Gotta figure out ways to defend. There's just not a good enough defensive side here. It's why they won't win anything. They're not going to come close to winning anything. Like, this is why they're frustrating. The only chance they have is like in Supercopa and shit like that, because they were literally gifted a chance to end up like doing something. To me, that's what makes it the most frustrating of things. Is just you have the possibility of just picking up these points, but again, like I can't get like I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated. Anger and rage isn't a thing anymore with this team. When they win games, it's great. It's always great when they win. But like, I'm not here to get down on the losses or the drop points or get that frustrated, because I know what the problem is. We all know what the problem is. It's been a persistent thing for a certain amount of time now, and either they address it or don't, or they could be okay with these mediocre results. Straight up, straight up, gotta be dealing with these results. So yeah, that to me, that's what gets me the most frustrated, is that sorry, answering a message. No Santangelo today. Again, guys, like up the stream, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Obviously, not surprised that we don't have too many. What was the picture? I can't even, like when Zlatan's not a player for Milan, I could really I have a hard time counting. I have a hard time counting. Fofana and Reinders. Okay. Prior to Fofana's mess ups, I thought this duo was outstanding today. Outside of that, Fofana like retract the outstanding, more of, great moments, like I was saying at the start of the stream, very high highs, the lows are low. Him and Pavlovic with that miscommunicado towards the end there was part of the disaster. Fofana's assist to Leão on that second goal was sublime. Just really controlling the tempo for a period of time, and then it sort of unraveled. Tijani Reinders, Milan's best player next to Pulisic this season, even Magnan to an extent too. Just a really, really, really sound player, can do almost everything. Not the greatest of defenders, but again, that's not his job. Reinders is a great ball carrier. He's great box to box, and all that kind of stuff. So to me, that's that was a strong performance from those sort of players there. Again, the picture was basically Portia. Yeah, well, he's just as much of a great player as he was. He's a narcissist. No comments. No comment on Giancarlo Simic. Great reminder. Great reminder, by the way. Good job. I blame the coach for selecting some of these players, George. I hope you're feeling better today, and every day. I get where you're coming from, though. These are individual errors that are also having to be blamed on players, because players are professionals and they shouldn't have any of those excuses. But Fonseca should also know the limitations of said players to not put them in this spot. Yeah. I am not totally against what you're saying, Rafiq, but it's different when you're approaching a side like Cagliari like that, when they're sitting at the back. Like, that's like their thing. Like, they want to sit back. And again, like, if you thought like the way Teo was, oh my God. Damn Abraham coming off the bench almost scored the winner. And when I say almost scored the winner, he would have had the winner. It just frustrating. I thought he did good work to return from, I guess, his knock and an issue with his shoulder, I believe it was, because he got hurt against the match against Udinese, where I was there for. So again, really frustrating in that sense. Yeah. So again, all that kind of stuff. To win a trophy this season, starting on an interim basis, why were Emerson Royale and Terriciano and Tamore? Why did we sub off Leão? I mean, just dude, Brian, they're not going to be paying other people. They're just not going to be paying multiple managers. I don't think. I don't think. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying like, oh, this is how their best chance of trophies are. It's just like there's so much more nuance with it. I understand where you're coming from, but it's not like FIFA. You can't just sack a manager, hire Sadi off the street, bring him in. Like Fonseca just beat Real Madrid, bro, away at the Bernabeu. I don't give a shit about Real Madrid's form. They just went to the Bernabeu and beat them. So like when you're saying like sack Fonseca, they're not going to do it. And again, too, like today is partially on him. It's also on these players. Yeah, Brian, where else was he going to win a trophy? Roma? Like, again. And it was at Shakhtar. His last trophy that he won was at Shakhtar. That's, yeah. So, like, again, to me, it's just really, we're kind of ending up in this place of a treadmill that, like, Milan aren't good enough defensively. We've kind of come to this conclusion. And yeah, like, to me, it's just sort of, we're running in circles here, because they're not going to fire the manager. And yeah, it's ultimately what's going to happen. He bought himself plenty of time, and they're not going to change any of that. So yeah, we have the same winning Scudetto as we do winning UCL. I don't disagree. I agree with you. Milan don't have a great chance at either. But that's what it is. That's what this ownership group deserves, and that's ultimately what's going to be the case for the foreseeable future, unless there's some massive changes and philosophy in how they're approaching the way that they handle the markets. I think the January transfer window is something that they can do to try and turn around the entire season. There's so many fixtures still to be played and coming up. Milan really just have to turn it around. It's a matter of a midfield actually having some sort of balance or semblance of balance, and then the defense not having brain farts. And to be quite honest with you, that's a lot to ask for players to change in the middle of a season. Highly unlikely to happen. And yeah, I think that's just ultimately what's going down there. So for me, just really frustrating. Not much else left to say in regards to that. It is what it is. I'm not going to get angry over it, and this is what this management deserves. This is what this management gets. So yeah, I find that all very, very funny. Same old. Nothing really changed. Yeah, it is numbing to an extent. Just it is, but I've seen worse. I'm a New York Jets fan. I have watched this club through the Banta era. It's a good team with faults. He could not have won at Roma. Please stop, Ryan. Please, for the love of God, stop. And please with the Lille stuff too. They were completely gutting their team at both of those spots. At both of those times, he got the job. They were draining the team from talent. Literally, please look up what Roma was doing when he signed there. I'm sorry, you're reinventing history here in the narratives. It's just none of that is true. I'm sorry. Inzaghi won at Lazio. Yeah, Inzaghi was there for years. Inzaghi is a better manager. We get that. Lazio is also not a garbage fucking club like that. Their ultras are deplorable people. Their owner's a scumbag. We get that side of stuff, but let's not mince things here. Inzaghi's a great manager, and on top of it, Lazio had a really good squad. Tade did a very good job with them. So let's stop the semantics here where, Roma was a side until Mourinho showed up. Please let me know how long it took for Roma. Because, Brian, they don't look at it like that. I think you have a fundamental misunderstanding of how Redbird works. And that's what, and again, I'm not saying you can't critique them, but if you're asking these questions, then you're not understanding how ownership is. It's like the same people who are like, why didn't we get Conte? Why do you think they didn't get Conte? Please enlighten me as to why you think that they didn't go after Conte. There's a very specific reason here. One, they are cheap. Two, they like people that will fall in line with their philosophy and do what they want to do. Do they necessarily go for the guaranteed thing? No. It's been proven, because also guaranteed means more money to be spent, because you have a proven commodity where you have all these other assets of players like a Pavlovic. Pavlovic could be good. He may not be good. We are spending the money in that 20 million range for that. We are spending money on players who have 1 year left on their contract, and they're not getting extended by their clubs because their future is up in the air. I'm sorry, Brian. Like, you have to just accept. This is why I don't get as angry on certain things. But if you understand how Redbird work and how they operate and what their ideology is, none of this can surprise you. None of this can or should. Fantasy Calcio, I already mentioned Camarda. I thought Camarda did a pretty solid job for his first start. Really difficult to get on the score sheet against a side like this. Did some decent stuff off ball. Almost had an assist to Chukwueze. I think he had some intelligent runs. But all in all, just a very meh performance. But again, that's sort of kind of something that you will take at his age and his message. Or debut. None of the players we signed this summer has been a flop except maybe Morata and Fofana. No, you mean every single one of these players, Marcus? Yeah. I mean, Morata and Fofana. I think Tammy's done a good job. I think Tammy Milan alone is perfectly fine. I think he's doing what he can with that. Yeah, but what we should listen, bro, Brian. If we say what we should do, it's a waste. To me, it's a waste of time. Of course, we all know what they should do, but why are we bothering talking about it? We knew what they should have done during the Bant era. We knew all this, but it's a waste of breath every single week, every single match that they drop points to say, well, you know what? Redbird should have done this. No, come on now. Like, we know. I understand your frustrations. They're valid. Everyone's are. But it's to me a waste of time. A genuine waste of time. No. Maybe this season Reinder's playing better. Barella has been proven this for years. He's not better. Reinders is not better than Barella. Barella is exceptional as a player. Reinders is also phenomenal. I mean, I think he's up there with one of the best in the world this year, let alone Serie A midfielders. Kind of been that for a bit. Fofana, Jeremy says missed the second half, but wasn't surprised at yeah, exactly, Jeremy. I don't think anyone should be surprised at anything that went down today. I do find it very funny that everything is very quiet in terms of blame. Everybody's very quiet. Rafael Leão not to blame today. Very interesting. Anthony, I agree with you to an extent, but also, like, they don't sign players that are fundamentally good. Okay, Brian, but what were your thoughts on Pioli? What were your thoughts on Allegri? What were your thoughts on Capello, on Sacchi, and Ancelotti? What do those all have in common? What do they all have in common as managers? They didn't win shit before Milan hired them. They didn't win a fucking trophy. They didn't win anything anywhere. They didn't. That is irrelevant. That point, I'm sorry, is garbage. It's always garbage. It's always garbage. It's a really bad point. Mourinho was a ball boy. What coaching experience did he have? Okay? What experience, bro? Like, this is the kind of logic that is so infuriating. What did Xavi win before he managed Barca? Xavi didn't win shit. Xavi didn't win a thing. Xavi didn't win anything. Like, this is silly. Sari was a banker. Won nothing. Won nothing. This speak of trophies prior to getting a job is nonsense. You're only as good as your team that you're given. Okay? You can coach them up, you could develop players well, all that kind of stuff. You don't always have to, Brian, because you don't always have to. Because Milan, if you are a Milan fan, which I would assume you are, you would know that the majority of the really good managers in Milan's history had not been successful prior to that. They were not proven commodities, big names. You don't have to be, okay? Palladino would have been an interesting hire. There's other managers that would have been interesting hires that don't have great win records elsewhere. It's silly. It's really silly to me that we're like choosing to be here. Gasparini, another example, Anthony. Thank you. Conte, like, they weren't successful elsewhere. They really weren't. Allegri did a good job with Cagliari, and I believe it was Cagliari before he went to Milan. Like, that kind of stuff is ultimately what happens. And you can't like deduce like, oh yeah, I'm not hiring a manager because he didn't win anywhere else before. Yeah, a lot of people didn't. Psycho Milan is back for sure. That's exactly what I said, Zion. It's exactly what I said. So yeah. I think that's pretty much the case here. There isn't much to discuss. 30 minutes. It's disgusting defense here. Yeah, not much else left to say. I think Milan have an opportunity to still turn the season around and make top 4, maybe compete for something. But in general, this team don't have it. Guess, Brian, I think you just don't like Fonseca, and that's fine. That's totally fine, right? So like, here's why, again, a lot of fights on Twitter, and Twitter is also like not a great forum or medium to discuss or have debates that are like, back and forth for many reasons, because you're on a character limit, you're reading, it's not at every second like back and forth where you're having a conversation, you hear the tone of someone's voice. But you could hear my voice and you could hear where I'm coming from, and hopefully you understand this. If you don't like Fonseca because of the way they play, because the way he implements his system and it's not conducive to winning, sure. But you cannot say in a black and white face that he is not good because he had not won a lot prior to that. That is silly. That's nonsense. It's illogical. There's so many things wrong with that idea. And you just had mentioned Simone Inzaghi. What had Simone Inzaghi won at the professional top flight level before he got managed there? Thank you, Brian. I enjoy when you're here all the time, but this is just like, there's opinions and then there's logic behind the opinions or lack thereof at times. So when like a lot of people are saying like so and so stinks, and it's like people don't like Rafael Leão and think he's overrated because he doesn't work hard. I think that's bullshit. That's not the reason why Leão is overrated. Why Leão is overrated is because he's not a great finisher. So when you're talking about 175 million euro release clause, and he's not a player that can get you 20 plus goals in all competitions, that would make his value more overrated, right? That's why he's overrated, not because of work rate. Nobody gives a shit about work rate. When it comes to it's so overrated. Anthony, what I'm saying is prior to him getting hired with Lazio, he won Coppa Italia, Supercopas at Lazio. I'm saying prior to his hiring at Lazio, what had he won? You know what I'm saying? But do you get my point that when Fonseca was the little manager and Toulouse won and he didn't? Okay, so PSG didn't win. Other bigger clubs like Monaco did not win that. It's that's you get my point? Like, you understand where I'm coming from? Sure, he didn't win that. Then what about the managers when he won with Braga? What about Benfica, Sporting, right? Benfica, Sporting, Porto. Where were they? He won with Braga. Do you know what Fonseca did with Lille and how he had to turn them around and had them competing and almost won the Conference League? We could praise Mourinho for going deep into the Conference League and almost winning that competition. We could do that. Fonseca doing it with a less talented side doesn't. Listen, Fonseca has proven that he might be way in over his head. He's not the greatest of managers. We all knew that. I still think he's solid. I still think he could do a decent job. But if you're going to kind of sit there and anticipate something different in terms of, like, output when this PSG won the title because they had the most expensive squad and have Mbappe there. You're not hearing yourself. Brian, you are not hearing yourself, man. I'm not reading any more comments because this is what I can't do. I can't. You're not listening. If you don't want to listen, then I'm not doing this. I cannot. I try and be decent with everyone. If you're not going to listen to me and you're not going to understand the points, then it's not worth a conversation. Because then it just turns into disingenuous nut job combos that go nowhere. I'm not going to do this when you don't understand the point. You don't understand the point, then I'm not going to do this. Simple. To Inter, hi. It's not coming to Milan. It does matter. They have 5 times the wage bill of anyone else, and 5 times might be selling it short. And Mbappe and all these other players, bro. Please, spare me with that. Spare me with it. Correct, Anthony. Correct. Listen, you have to talk about style. I'm not going to do much of this anymore. Brian, I appreciate you chiming in and always appreciate you and the messages. Everyone else, I appreciate it as well. We're going to wrap it up here. Podcast recording most likely in the middle of the week. So take care and see you later.